Behind me, we have a Haute Couture gown designed by Jonathan Anderson for Christian Dior's Spring/Summer 2026 collection. And then this dress behind me right here, this is also designed by Jonathan Anderson for Dior's Spring/Summer 2026 ready-to-wear collection. So there's some clear differences here, but beyond the clothes themselves, there are some technical differences. Ready-to-wear clothing is a market term, and it has been around for quite some time. As a matter of fact, ready-to-wear clothing as we know it actually began in the 1830s with the opening of garment factories in New York City, where they could mass produce a large number of clothes with preset sizes, where people could easily get the clothing from that particular store and be able to take it home and wear it right off the rack. That is the whole purpose of ready-to-wear clothing. It is really for the ease and the convenience of the consumer. So rather than you spending dozens of hours sitting at a sewing machine manufacturing a dress yourself, someone else could do it for you, and also you could buy it at a reasonable cost. Now, according to the book that was written by Nancy Green called The Century of Industry and Immigrants in Paris and New York, she actually talks about that the prevalence of ready-to-wear clothing gradually increased. So from 1860, there was only 25% of clothing that was ready-to-wear. And then by the time 1951 came around, that number jumped up to 90% in the United States. Now, in France and a lot of other European markets, that number did remain much lower. But even then, it became more common for them to have ready-to-wear clothing as we got closer to the modern era. And ready-to-wear clothing wasn't relegated to just factories, because by the late 1960s, even designers got in on it. They started making ready-to-wear designs as well and selling it in boutiques such as Yves Saint Laurent in 1966. Now, haute couture, however, is a legal definition or a legal designation, and that legal designation did not come into existence until 1945. Particularly, that designation is reserved for brands that specifically meet a certain series of criteria. So the Fédération de la Haute Couture et de la Mode promulgated rules back in 1945 in their previous iteration, and that series of rules consists of the following. Number one, you have to have made-to-order clothing. It cannot be ready-to-wear. It cannot be pre-sized. It has to be made to order, and also it has to be basically very customized and specific to the client. Number two, the atelier must be in Paris. That is another requirement according to their rules. Then also, the atelier has to have at least 20 full-time staff members, and then also 20 technical staff in addition. There also has to be at least 25 design looks that are presented twice a year, which is why you have two parts of the fashion calendar. You have your spring, summer, and your autumn, winter. So I'll use an example behind me. Issey Miyake, Spring Summer 2026. This is not haute couture according to the legal definition. However, it is still artisanal and bespoke design. So that's basically demonstrating that, yes, you can have bespoke artisanal design that doesn't meet the standard of haute couture. It's more about really the intention of the designer and why they're putting the clothing out there. If the designer's intention is to create art through an artisanal or bespoke collection, it's going to be assessed as such. But if the intention of the designer was to create ready-to-wear clothing that was based on peak level market